Start.
Good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of Guru Shri Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women, I cordially welcome our guest of honor, Dr. V. Ramaraj sir, our beloved principal ma'am, Dr. M.K. Malati, our correspondent sir, Dr. Gautam P. Ved. As we start with our session, let's seek the divine blessing.
అయిపోలే
Now I request our Chief Coordinator, Dr. Visaluchi ma'am, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning to one and all joined here for the webinar. I'm Dr. Visalakshi, Head of the Department of Business Administration and the Chief Coordinator of Citizen Consumer Club of Guru Shri Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women, Chennai. On behalf of our management, principal and the teaching community, I welcome you all for the today's webinar entitled Awake, Alert and Act, hosted by GSS Citizen Consumer Club. We have a promising personality with us. It is my immense pleasure to welcome our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. V. Ramaraj, President, Judge, District Consumer Court, Chennai. Hearty welcome to you, sir.
Yes, madam. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's my great honor to extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Secretary and Correspondent and our respected Principal Madam. It is my duty to welcome my fellow faculty members and beloved students for the webinar. Now it's time to introduce our renowned guest of honor to the gathering. I am extremely delighted to take this opportunity to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. V. Ramaraj. Dr. V. Ramaraj has acquired more than 10 degrees in law and related disciplines such as ML Consumer Law, ML Administration Law, MHR, MPhil, PhD, MA Criminology, MA Political Science, and the list goes on. He has practiced as advocate nearly 30 years and served as member Tamil Nadu State Commission for Child Protection and Their Rights. He has published 25 research publications and written 2 books with many popular articles. He has traveled more than 13 countries to take part in the legal conferences. At present, there is Dr. V. Ramaraj serving as President, District Judge of Consumer Court. Once again, I welcome you. Welcome our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. V. Ramaraj. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and gracing this session. I once again welcome you all and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I request ma'am to present the e-memento.
So here is the e-memento which is presented to our guest of honor, Dr. V. Ramaraj. Yes, as token of gratitude. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request sir to take over the session.
Good morning to one and all. This is an opportunity to give a lecture. Good morning. First, at the outset, I wish to extend my thanks to the management of the college, particularly correspondent and principal and coordinator. So, it is the consumer era. So, it is right time to talk about the consumer awareness and other topics. So, at the outset, we know the laws are enacted in the parliament or legislative assembly. We know the constitution. So, historical approach is very, very essential. In 1945, October 24, United Nations was established. Since its establishment, there are so many conventions, treaties, and so many developmental activities done by the United Nations. So, in the year 1985, United Nations General Assembly passed a general guidelines for the consumer protection. So, it also insisted the member states to enact a law on exclusive law on consumer protection, and that convention forced the states, that means every country, to establish a institution for the redressal of consumers. That's why India in 1986, Parliament of India passed a law, Consumer Protection Act 1986. This is a small history. I don't want to go other consumer movements history. It is a legal history of the Consumer Act in India. So, Consumer Act in 1986 Act also established three-tier systems for the consumer courts. In the recent developments in 2015, United Nations adopted another convention that is called Revised Guidelines for the Consumer Protections 2015. So, due to the e-commerce, digital marketing, and new developments in the commercial world. So again, India adopted needed to make necessary changes. So Government of India decided to repeal the Act 1986. So it repealed and passed a new Act with very good features in the year 2019. So present existing law for the consumer protection is Consumer Protection Act 2019. So every act gives some rights to the people. Every act, every law provides some institutions to protect that rights. For example, in 1993, Human Rights Act passed in India, Indian Parliament. So it is also an act from the international process. In 1948, December 10, Declaration of Human Rights proclaimed by the United Nations Assembly, General Assembly. In 1966, two covenants were passed, but in 1993, India signed in the Paris Principles on Human Rights also. It forced to make a law, special law for the human rights in India. Likewise, India is forced to make a consumer protection law due to member signatory of the International Convention on Guidelines of the Consumer Protection in 1985 and 2015. So, as per the new act, it provided so many mechanisms for the consumers' awareness, consumer rights, and consumer protections. So, first, what are the consumer rights? That is very, very, very important, because every law introduces definitions for the rights. For in the Human Rights Act 1993 clearly says that human rights means life, because today is Human Rights Day. So that's why I'm making comparison with the human rights law. Section 2D of the Human Rights Act says that rights relating with life, liberty, equality, and dignity are which are the human rights, and it also says that rights relating with the life, liberty, and dignity of the individual, which are embodied in the Constitution of India and guided by the international covenants. Likewise, in 2005, National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights was enacted. It also defined the rights of the child. So Human Rights Act established three institutions, namely National Human Rights Commission at the national level, in the state level Human Rights Commission, in that two type in district level, district human rights courts, the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights provided three-tier system: national level commission, state level commission, and district level court. So Consumer Act 2015 have given 6 rights for the consumers. Section 2D of the Human Rights Act speaks about the human rights. What are the human rights? Likewise, Section 2 definitions in the Act says about what are the human rights. So human rights, what are the consumer rights? Consumer rights are 6 rights. So number one, consumer rights includes the rights protected against the marketing of goods, products, or services which are hazardous to the life and property. Right to be protected, that is the main right of the first right of the consumer rights. Second, the right to be informed about the quality, quantity, potency, purity, standard, and price of goods, products, or services, as the case may be, so as to protect the consumer against the unfair trade practice. So it is the second right of the every consumer in India, defined by the law. Third right is the right to be assured, wherever possible, access to a variety of goods, products, or services at competitive prices. Fourth is the right to be heard and assured that consumers' interest will receive due consideration at appropriate fora. Fifth right of the consumer is very important. That is the right to seek redressal against unfair trade practices or restrictive trade practices or exploitation of consumers. Sixth right is right to consumer awareness. So, Consumer Protection Act very clearly proclaimed 6 consumer rights. Okay. It proclaimed rights of the consumers. What are the forums to seek remedies, or what are the forums getting assistance? It is the next question. This act provided 3 type of institutions for the consumers. So number one, it is a redressal commission. Redressal commission means national level, National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. So next state level, State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. In the district Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. So 3 type of redressal commissions are established by this act. In national level commission, a retired Supreme Court judge will be a national president of the commission, and other members also there, retired High Court judges and activists in the consumer area also will be appointed as members. It is located in Delhi, and state commissions are located in state capitals. In the state commissions, one retired High Court judge will be the state president, and 2 members will be there according to the necessity. The 2 type of members, member judicial, they are retired judges. So another one is member non-judicial, they are advocates or activists in the human rights area. So third one is district level, that is the grassroots level. People are always moving to the district level consumer commissions only. In general, we are calling district consumer courts because Human Rights Act 1993 designated the district level forum as district consumer court, district human rights court. Here, they have designated as district consumer dispute redressal commission. In the commission, one president will be there. The president is equal in the cadre of district judge super time scale. That means a senior district judge. So two members are will be appointed by the government of the concerned state. That members are equivalent to the deputy secretaries of the government. So this is the organizational setup of the three types of consumer redressal dispute commissions: national level, state level, and district level. Next, we are moving to another one institution that is also created by the Consumer Protection Act 2019. That is Central Consumer Protection Authority. சூரியன் இங்க வா. ஹலோ, எப்படி கனெக்ட் பண்றது இப்ப வந்து?
Yes, sir. You can continue.
Very sorry, madam. Network issue.
No problem, sir.
Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have changed the network to Jio. Okay, next, government, there are another one type of institution that is called Consumer Protection Councils. Three type of Consumer Protection Councils are there. Central Consumer Protection Council, that is headed by the Minister for the who is in charge of the consumer affairs. Yeah, that is an advisory body. All three type of Consumer Protection Council are advisory bodies. So in the state consumer affairs minister will be the head of the State Consumer Products Council. In districts, collector will be the head of the district level Consumer Protection Council. These three councils, all these three type of councils must meet yearly twice and discuss the issues related with the consumer protection and act as an advisory agency in the district level, state level, and national level. So, this Consumer Protection Act created three type of institutions, namely redressal commissions, next Central Protection Authority, third one is three type of councils. So we are mainly concentrating on the redressal commissions because people are always need a remedy from the victimization. So three type of commissions are there. First, district consumer protection commissions. We are because that is a time to know about these three type of commissions and its activities, how to approach the commission. So first of all, consumer only can access the consumer courts in district level. What is the consumer definition for the consumer? Consumer is a person who purchase any goods or service, not only goods, including service. So buys any goods for a consideration which has been paid or promised or partly paid and partly promised or under any system of deferred payment and includes any use of such goods other than the person who buys such goods for consideration paid or promised or partly paid or partly promised or under any system or deferred payment when such use is made with the approval of such person but does not include a person who obtains such a goods for resale or any commercial purpose. It is very simple. If a person purchase the goods or service, goods means it may be a laptop or a printer or a watch or mobile, anything. Services means it may be any repairing services or construction services or insurance or banking or transport services, every services. Who purchase the goods or services is consumer. At the same time, with the permission of the purchaser, if a person uses that goods or service, he is also called consumer. He can also access the consumer courts. Because I am using this laptop, this is purchased by myself. But whenever I am going to office, my son is using this one. So he is also having right to make the claims against the manufacturer if any defective goods. So this is the consumer definition for the consumer. But at the same time, goods or service purchased by a commercial institution is not coming under the Consumer Act. They won't approach the relief for to the consumer court. They have to approach the commercial courts only. But at the same time, a person purchases the goods or services for the livelihood. For example, a person buys an auto rickshaw and he is acting as driver and getting income for the family means he is consumer. But a company purchases 100 auto rickshaws and appointing drivers and operating the transport system means they are not consumers. So consumer means these two type of consumers are two type of consumers. But if anyway, what are the issues in the consumers? What are the disputes between the consumers and service providers and manufacturers, sellers? Because they always dispute is arising between the consumers and sellers or consumers and manufacturers. So consumers and uh, distributors. So it is the right time to know what are the disputes in the consumer area. That means unfair trade practice. Unfair trade practice is a consumer dispute. Unfair contract. Likewise, restricted trade practice also coming as a consumer dispute. Then defective goods, deficiency in the service. If a manufacturer or seller sells a property which are going to give any harm to the property or life. So product liability is also newly introduced in the new act. So these are the consumer disputes. For example, defective goods means if there are so many consumers are filing cases against the manufacturers of the companies. For example, one person purchased a car within 1 week. In the car, defective braking system or AC condition system. Likewise, some defects arise. So he is approaching the manufacturer and seller for the relief. If they are not giving the relief or not coming forward to replace the defective goods, they are approaching the district consumer courts, that is district consumer redressal commissions. So district consumer commissions are empowered to make necessary orders. Deficiency in the service means a person makes payments for the insurance. That insurer medical, particularly medical insurance are complicated. Consumers are more consumers are approaching the consumer courts for the reliefs, because many insurance companies are making delays or refusal in the insurance claims. That type of deficiency also coming under the consumer dispute. Not only that kind of deficiency, any deficiency made by the service provider, banking sector, and even all the governments. If you are paying ₹10 to the government to getting a birth certificate, if the birth certificate is not given in proper time, that is also deficiency service. That unfair trade practice means in the new commercial era, people are doing so many business. There are unfair trade practice and unfair contract, and further unfair restricted trade practice. These are the consumer disputes. The unfair contract means a contract between a manufacturer or trader or service provider on the one hand and a consumer on the other, having such term which cause significant change in the rights of such consumer, including for the following, namely requiring manifestly excessive security deposits. If the manufacturer asks excessive security deposit, that is also a unfair contract. Imposing any penalty on the consumer for the breach of contract thereof which is wholly disappropriate to the loss of occurred due to such breach of contract, that is also consumer unfair contract. Refusing to accept early payment of the debts on the payment of obligation. For example, if you are buying a housing loan from a financial institution, if we want to make the payment in earlier, if they are not accepting your entire payment, that means also a unfair contract. Imposing any penalty on the consumer disproportionate, that means if you are buying a proper service, sometimes you are surrendering it. if they are paying some imposing penalty without reasonable means, that is also a consumer dispute. So entitling party to contract to terminate such contract unilaterally. A consumer and manufacturer or seller entered an agreement, meantime, without giving opportunity to the consumer, manufacturer, seller, or service provider. So terminates your contract means that is unfair contract. That is also a consumer dispute. Permitting or has effect permitting one party to assign the contract to the detriment of the other party who is consumer without his consent. The manufacturer or seller or service provider entered an agreement with you. With you means the consumer. Meantime, in the middle of the contract, manufacturer, seller, or service provider allowing a third person to the contract, that is also a consumer dispute. Imposing on the consumer any unreasonable charges, obligations, or conditions. Imposing unreasonable charges, obligation, or conditions. That is also a consumer dispute. For example, if you are going to purchase a kerosene from the ration shop, but they are imposing that you have to purchase 5 kg sugar, otherwise we won't give kerosene. That is also a unfair contract. That is also unfair business malpractice. So these are the what are unfair trade practices. Unfair trade practices also very critical issues for the protecting the consumer rights. That means falsely represent that the goods are of a particular standard, quality, quantity, grade, composition, style, or model. Falsely represents that the services are of the particular standard, quality, or grade. Falsely represents any rebuilt, second-hand, renovated, reconditioned, or old goods as a new goods. Represent that goods or services have sponsorship, approval, performance, characters, accessories, uses, or benefits which such goods or services do not have. Represents the seller or the supplier as a sponsorship, approval of the application which such seller supplier does not have. Yes. Hello. Very sorry. Unfair trade. Next type of unfair trade practice is makes a false or misleading representation concerning the need for or usefulness of any goods or services. Another type of unfair trade practice is gives the public any warranty or guarantee of the performance, efficiency, or length of life product and proper is based on adequate or proper test. The burden of proof of such defense shall lie on the person saying such defense. Another type of unfair trade practices makes the public representation in form of the purpose to be a warranty or guarantee of a product of any goods or the service. So, promise to replace, maintain, or repair an article or any part thereof to repeat the continuing service until it has achieved the specific result. So, so unfair trade practice is very difficult to one for the people, and it is not acceptable. It is affecting the consumer rights also. So these are the issues relating with the consumer disputes. And another one is restrictive trade practice. Restrictive trade practice is a very important issue for the consumers. The consumers should know the restrictive trade practices. Restrictive trade practices means a trade practices which tends to bring about manipulation of price or its conditions of delivery or to affect the flow of supplies in the making relations to goods or services in such a manner as to impose on the consumers unjustified cost restrictions shall include delay beyond the period agreed to by trader in supply of such goods or in providing the services which has led or is likely to lead to rise in the price. Next one is any trader practices which requires a consumer to buy, hire or avail of any goods or as the case may be, services as condition preceding for buying, hiring, availing of other goods and services. So the restrictive trade practices should be eradicated in and should be eradicated from the society. Otherwise, the victims are the consumer only. Next, who can approach the consumer courts in the commercial in mechanical world? Every consumer is having own issues. So, who can file the consumer complaints in the consumer court is the next important subject. We have to know it also. What are the consumer disputes? We have discussed elaborately. Complainant, we know that we are consumers. Complaint, what type of complaints? Complaints means unfair contract, unfair trade practice or restrictive trade practice has been adopted by any trader or service provider. This is one type of complaint. We can file the same in the consumer courts. Another complaint is the goods brought by him or agreed to be brought by him suffer from one or more defects, that is defective goods. Another type of complaint is the services hired or availed or agreed to be hired or availed by him suffer from any deficiency, that is deficiency in the service. Another one is a trader or service provider, as the case may be, charged for the goods for the services mentioned in the complaint a price in the excessive of price, one fixed by or under any law for the time being in force. So law fixed a price for a service or goods, but the trader sells such service or goods in a excessive price, means that is a consumer complaint. Next, displayed on the goods or any packages containing such goods. If the trader sells more than such type of price, means that is an excessive price, that is also a complaint. Displayed on the price list exhibited by him or under any law for time being in force. Next type of excessive price is agreed between the parties. The goods which are dangerous to the life, safety when used or being offered sale of public. These are the types of consumer complaints. So, who will approach the consumer courts? Either directly by the consumer or through an advocate, or with how to approach the consumer court. As per the new law, every consumer has right to lodge a complaint before the District Consumer Protection Commission for the relief. That means consumer directly can lodge a complaint before the Consumer Dispute Redressal Commissions. That means if a property we are buying for 70 lakhs means we can't go to District Consumer Commission. Pecuniary jurisdiction is there. Now the value of the property or service not more than 50 lakhs means we can approach the District Consumer Redressal Commissions. That value is more than 50 lakhs, less than 2 crores means we have to approach the State Consumer Redressal Commissions for the relief. More than 2 crores means National Consumer Redressal, the consumer has to approach National Consumer Redressal Commission. This is pecuniary jurisdiction. But at the same time, district appeal, if a district consumer court passes an order, appeal is going to be filed before the State Commission. Orders of the State Commission will be challenged before the National Commission. So this is the system. Consumer means consumer can directly file the cases. Next, if he is not able to file the case directly, he can engage an advocate. If he is not able to engage an advocate, he can authorize, consumer can authorize a voluntary organization to conduct the case before the consumer courts. Any voluntary consumer association registered under any law for the time being in force. In the consumer's courts, central governments, state governments can also lodge the complaints. Or one or more consumers, a representative can lodge the complaints. One or more consumers where there are numerous consumers having the same interest. In case of death of a consumer, his legal heir or representative can also file a complaint for the consumer courts. In case of my consumer is a minor, his guardian can lodge the complaint before the consumer court. So complaints can be lodged by 6 type of persons before the consumer courts. Number one, consumer directly. Number two, through a voluntary organization or an advocate. For the minor consumers, legal guardians of the minors can approach the court. Any death, legal can approach the court, central government or state government, and central authority for the consumer protection also has right to file a complaint against anyone, any seller, manufacturer, or service provider. So what is the type of cases? What is the type of consumer disputes? What are the rights? Who are the consumers? We have discussed. If we want to file a case before the consumer court, what are the procedures? Up to 5 lakhs, there is no fees to lodge a complaint before the district consumer commissions, because it is speedy, less expensive, and some easy procedures. So in the normal course, for any money claim, for if you are asking 1 lakh compensation from the seller, trader, manufacturer, or service provider, you have to pay rupees 3,000 as a court fee in the normal civil courts. But here, if you are asking compensation up to 5 lakhs, refund anything up to 5 lakhs, it is not necessary to pay any fees. Even after 5 lakhs, till the crore and above 1 crore, just 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees. Even if you are asking 50 crores compensation, maximum 10,000 fees is only to be paid by the consumers. What are the procedures to file complaints means? In general, if you are watching this program, you should get ability to file a complaint directly before the consumer commissions. First, for everything, you have to give a complaint. That means in the complaint, what should be taken place? Cost title should be taken place. For example, District Consumer Redressal Commission. Before the District Consumer Redressal Commission, Coimbatore. Next, X complainant. Y opposite party. Next, you have to give your addresses. After that, you have to descriptively write the complaint. I have purchased the laptop, but within 10 days, fault happened. You write anything in the defective goods complaint or division the service, any complaints. Finally, you have to write the cause of action on such and such day. I have purchased on such and such day. It went default something you write. Next, prayers. What are your prayers? The manufacturer has to replace my car, replace my AC system, or replace my mobile, which is defective in the manufacturing, and pay compensation rupees 50, 10 or 10,000, 5 lakhs, like that. Further, this is the proper method of writing complaint. You have to attach so many things. Number one, you have to attach the supporting documents. For example, if you are buying a two-wheeler, means you have to submit the receipt of the purchase. Number two, the service manual, guarantee card, terms and condition, that document should be filed. So other necessary documents, if you are any transactions like emails, letters between consumer and trader, manufacturer, service provider, that may be added as a documents. If you send a legal notice or their reply notice, that should be added as a document. So if you are filing this complaint relating with the defective goods, within the service and anything, that will be taken into file of the consumer court if it is in proper manner. That means it should have in proper style and with the proper relief, because other than the relief under section 38, the consumer courts has no power to make any other orders. What are the reliefs will be granted by the District Consumer Commission is an important subject here. That is, even Consumer Act says that you have 6 consumer rights. You can't claim all the rights in District Consumer Courts or any other Consumer Redressal Commissions. 39 very clearly gives that District Consumer Commission have power to make the orders to remove the defect pointed out by the appropriate laboratory from the goods in question, to replace the goods with new goods similar description which shall be free from any defect, to return to the complainant the price, or as the case may be, the charges paid by the complainant along with the such interest on such price or charges as may be decided. Fourthly, to pay such amount as may be awarded by it as compensation to the consumer for any loss, injury suffered by consumers due to the negligence of the opposite parties. That means section 39A, replacement, remove the defect, return the price of the complaint, property, defective goods or service, and ordering to pay the compensation. Further, District Consumer Courts are having powers to make orders to pay such a compensation, to remove the defects in goods, to discontinue the unfair trade practice or restrictive trade practice and not to repeat them, not to offer the dangerous or unsafe and safe goods for the sale, to withdraw the dangerous goods from being offered for a sale, to cease manufacturer of danger goods and desist from offering services which are hardiest to nature. So these are the reliefs will be given by the district consumer commission. So in the reliefs for area, in the draft of the complaint, you have to mention what relief you need: refund of the fund price, or replacement of the goods, or replacement of particular defective goods in the for example, AC braking system, AC system in the car. So, or otherwise, compensation for the division the service. Some other reliefs you can ask from the consumer courts. If you are filing the lodging the complaint, consumer courts will take into the consideration. If everything is okay, they will issue the notice to the opposite parties. Opposite party may be government or government seller, manufacturer, trader, or service provider. Because, government is also doing some services like issuing death certificates, patta, chitta adangal, and the license for various things like driving license. So these are also services, because a consumer whenever paying even a single paise to the government or private organization, private companies, then they are also becoming the service providers. So sometimes department of government also serving as consumer service providers also. So these are the next stage. These are in the stage, district consumer court is issuing summon to the opposite parties. Further, another one important feature of this act is within 90 days, orders should be passed. That means cases should be disposed by the district consumer courts. Within 45 days, opposite has to file their written version. If they are not filing any written version, they will be set at ex parte. A landmark judgment given by the Supreme Court of India a few months back, if an ex parte order is passed by the district consumer court, it can be revoked by the district consumer court. The opposite parties, that means buyer, seller, manufacturer, trader, or service provider should approach the National Commission only. So within 45 days, if they have not filed any written version, this is the stage. If they filed the written version, proof of it will be filed, because in the consumer courts, we are not taking any examination of witnesses. The witnesses has to file the affidavits before the court, consumer court. It is a summary trial system, not like a system followed by in the civil procedure code in normal courts. So within 90 days, the district consumer commission should pass orders, which is very important for the consumers. So even in the if we are passing orders, everyone has right to make appeal for the district state consumer commissions. In the state consumer commissions, if every aggrieved party has right to file a revision against the state consumer redressal commission to the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. So why I am explaining such a detailed manner relating with the law means, awake means awareness. Awareness is very, very important. Without knowing this law, you can't be alert. Without knowing this law, you can't act. So awareness, alertness, and acting for the consumer rights needs basic knowledge of the Consumer Protection Act. Simply reading Consumer Protection Act is not sufficient. Practical approach is very, very important. So everyone should work for the rights of the consumers. Rights of the consumers. Not only district consumer courts, state commissions, national commissions are the only redressal forums for the consumers. Consumers are having so many institutions also to save the rights of the consumers. Bureau of Indian Standards, it is issuing certificates for the standard like ISO. So they are also taking care of consumers. Yeah, for example, in Tamil Nadu, till now, state consumer council, production council is not yet formed. No districts have district consumer councils, even though this act passed before 3 years. So it is the duty of the state government to establish the state consumer council and the district consumer protection councils to act as the advisory body for the rights of the consumers. Further, we need so many changes in the Consumer Act also. You are listening this audio, you are interested to work in the area of consumer rights. So it is right time to speak about some necessary changes for the better development of Consumer Act. For example, in each and every consumer commissions are based on Consumer Protection Act 2019. Price control, price fixation is very important concepts for the consumer protection and consumer rights. Without these two words, price control and price fixation, it is not necessary to explain the rights of the consumer. It is not possible to reach the fulfillment of consumers, satisfaction of consumers. So this price fixation and price control are not added disputes in the act. For example, if you are going by a bus from Chennai to Madurai, there are so many motels. If you are ordering a chapati, they are asking 200 rupees. There is no price list. There is no price fixation for these products by the government of the state or the food control authorities of the district. So price control is very essential. Price fixation is very essential. A mechanism should be established by the state government and central government, at least for the essential commodities, for the food items, hotel items, and other medicines likewise. So next, if any vacancy arises in the consumer courts, government should appoint, but there is no time frame for the deadline for this appointments. For example, last 3 years, out of the nearly 28 district consumer commissions out of 32, the post of the president, that means district judges, were vacant. In the year 2022, March month only, High Court recruited new presidents as district judges cadre and appointed it. So if any vacancy arises in the consumer courts by the presiding officer, judges or members, that should be appointed within 1 month. There is no time frame for this one. Another important concept is, see, human rights commissions are having powers, suo motu powers to take action against the human rights violations. If a news comes against the human rights or violation of human rights in the media, human rights commission themselves able to take the case as a suo motu and making necessary inquiries and passing orders. Likewise, state child rights commissions and national child rights commissions also having suo motu powers. these are also the rights commissions. Consumer Commission is also a rights commission. But consumer commissions are not having sumo powers to take action against the violations on human consumer rights. So human rights violations is not more comparatively with consumer rights violations. Violations of consumer rights is everywhere, every day, every minute. But without this power, sumo power, nowadays consumer courts, district consumer courts, and state commissions, national commissions are functioning. So these are very essential needed changes in the Consumer Protection Act. So, but at the same time, we can't do anything. The Parliament has to make suitable amendments. But we can initiate in the streets, in the public forums, in the every platform to make amendments. We can demand the central government, we can propose the necessary amendments to make changes in the area of protecting the consumer rights. Next, another one is we have Right to Information Act. That act provides State Information Commission, Central Information Commission also. After the enactment of the Right to Information Act, we are able to get the information from the public information officer in each and every office. If he is refusing to give the information, we can approach the appellate authority for the Right to Information Act officer. Next, we can approach the State Right to State Information Commission. If it is central subject, we are approaching the Central Information Commission. Likewise, we need Right to Services Act, because consumer means a person who pays money for the goods or service. Service are two type of services. Services paid by the consumer. Services without any payment. For example, if you are going a government hospital, there is no fees. That is also service. If you are even paying fees for obtaining a revenue record from the government, that means in the Taluka office, if you are paying rupees 60 rupees or 100 rupees, if they are not doing anything. He is also a consumer who paid the money. He is approaching the district consumer court. But before that, government should enact state government or central government should enact a Right to Services Act for every service of the government. A time frame is very, very essential. For if we are person is applying for birth certificate or death certificate or revenue certificates or education certificate or any license or any other services, if he pays money, that should be finished within some period. For example, if a person pays some money for the community certificate, death certificate, or income certificate, even not paying any money, that service should be completed within 2 weeks. If a person applying for license with proper documents, that should be completed within some time. So we need a Right to Services Act, but government will think that it will give more financial difficulties to the government for appointing Right to Service officers in every district, appellate officers in every district, and a separate commission like State Information Commission, State Services Commission is very difficult. So in these circumstances, I suggest that the Consumer Commission may be allowed to function as Right to Services Commissions also, District Consumer Redressal and Right to Services Commission. It should be renamed as District Consumer Redressal, District Consumer Disputes Redressal and Right to Services Commission. State Consumer Dispute Redressal and Right to Services Commission. In national level also like that. So if yeah, it will be a new initiative. For this purpose, Government of India has to take steps to amend the law. If it is even Government of Tamil Nadu can amend the law, yes, as by a state amendment in legislature, we can get the services of the government very easily. So we need it is right time to make um, state right time to make right to services act. But if it is not possible, it should be added with the commission functions of the consumer commissions. So if you are having more transparency, good governance is there. If you are knowing the consumer law, you are going to act, you are going to alert the people, you are going to demand the government for necessary changes for the effective functioning of the consumer commissions. And further, very essential thing essential is the infrastructures in the consumer courts. In all over Tamil Nadu, infrastructures are not satisfied only, not satisfied. If we are going to district consumer commissions in rural area, rural districts, rental buildings, insufficient staff, insufficient facilities. Even there is no proper restrooms in the consumer courts all over Tamil Nadu. Many of rural consumer courts are facing these problems. So you have to act to make necessary infrastructure facilities in the consumer courts, not only relating with the staffs, buildings, equipments, everything. So it is right time to invite you to act for the consumer rights, invite you to make demands for the necessary change in the consumer rights. It is right time to invite you join hands with the eradication of consumer disputes and prevent the people from the victimization by the traders, manufacturers, service providers, etc. So I request you, I thought that at least from this session you will get some information about the law, consumer protection law. With this knowledge, you act according to act for the consumer awareness, consumer rights, awake for the consumer awareness, consumer rights, and alert the people for the victimization of commercial world. Before conclude this my lecture, I wish to once again extend my thanks to the management of the college, principal and other teaching facilities, HOD of the Commerce Department, that is coordinator, Mrs. Visalaji, Dr. Visalaji Madam, and all the parents, all the participants in the program. I thank you, one and all. I invite questions if you want any interactions hereafter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's my immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of Guru Shri Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women. I would first like to thank the Almighty God for making this webinar a great success. I thank our beloved Principal Ma'am, Dr. M.K. Malati, our Honorable Secretary Sir, Dr. Gautam P. Ved, for giving us this opportunity for conducting an informative session on Awake, Alert and Act. I thank our guest of honor, Dr. V. Ramaraj sir, to share his knowledge and help the students to acquire more knowledge. Sir, I thank you for spending your valuable time. I lastly thank our faculty members and all the students who have been a part of the session.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Okay, it was a very awesome and interactive session. So we take this inputs which are being delivered by you in an effective manner, and we can all join hands for ensuring our rights as consumer. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I would like everyone to
And
stand for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जगति तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
thank you all.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.